Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. And if you're curious about what episode number it is, which we never say, but it's about 350. It's about 350. I'm Garrett, here as always with Kyle Fergusson, who is also a South Park fan. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Congrats to us. 350. You forget at some point to celebrate when you just keep making the number go bigger. Welcome, everybody. To
You just keep making the number go bigger.
It's good to be here. I'm really happy. I love this game. I love the show. I love y'all listening. So thanks for being here. Let's talk some Hogger and other things.
Wait, I'm just doing a real quick. I'm doing some quick math, Kyle. I'm doing a quick math. We did what? 186 episodes of StarCast. We're nearing double. We're nearing double of that here on Into the Nexus. So we're in the 370s. We will have doubled the amount of episodes of StarCast that we made and we put out into the universe.
It's a long time to be playing a game.
Yeah, it is, which is probably why we're still not playing that game.
Wait. I'm talking about this game.
No, this one. Here's a yeah. This one stays more interesting for a longer period of time, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
I love me some StarCraft. But that game, It found ways to regularly update itself years after we stopped covering it. Years, Kyle. So we would have had to stuck with that a lot longer before we got the co-op commanders. That wasn't a thing when we were doing StarCast.
Yeah, it was a viewer experience, StarCraft, right? Like you could have your at-home burger, but you want a McDonald's, and that's what StarCraft is.
That's you're not wrong.
Yeah, there's little onions in it. My grandma always put like lots of like big slices of onions in there, and it was rough as a kid. You don't know what you got until you miss.
Mine was always raiding the pantry for stale Oreos. That's what I think of when I think of being babysat by my grandparents.
Stale Oreos? What, wait, raiding for herself?
No, me. Like, I want a snack and anything that was actually something I would want to eat. So, like, healthy grandparent snacks, they were always fine, freshly purchased. Anything a child would want to eat had probably been there since the last time I was babysat. So,
it's true. It was those like crisscross cookies. What? They're not vanilla wafers. They're like waffles, and there's a little bit of cream in there.
Oh yeah, but they're lemon. And you're just like, this is just a little.
Yeah, it ain't right. But my grandpa loved Twinkies, so we bonded over that. It was great.
That was a banned snack in my house. I hope everyone's enjoying this, by the way.
We're here to talk about Hogger. We have a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. You know how we'll segue into this? You know who I bet loves Twinkies is Hogger. I bet he's a big fan. That's why he's running around like the Tasmanian devil, man. He's all happed up on sugar.
Could be.
He's got to quit the shug, man. He's got to put it down.
He's messed up. He's a lot of fun. I've been having a good time on Hogger.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this. I am. I'm having a good time. Before we get started, a Cavalier guest is going to be joining us next week. Cavalier guest will be our guest. It'll be the Cavalier guest episode.
Yes, coach, informant, community teacher. And a teammate of mine for my Heroes Lounge team. So really excited to have him on. And most recently, it was rather nice. We played some Tyrael, and I got a full Tyrael coaching session out of it.
What do you think the over-under is that he and I get into a disagreement about best solo laners?
I think he's a pretty understanding guy. I think that the NA team, the Heroes Lounge team, has helped keeping him humble too, because he's constantly surrounded by all these amazing players, and he says do something and they can do it, but we bring him back down. We bring him back down to earth with our inability to execute a basic combo.
Good way to put it. Thank you for staying humble, Kyle. Thanks for staying humble. Perspective. Nice.
You know it.
Nice. Yes.
I got no humble to share, man. I am over the moon because Medallion's gone. And if anything, I have to retrain myself because people are vulnerable again. There's Tychuses standing by walls. There's enemies just hanging out where they shouldn't be. And it's just been fabulous.
They're
not getting away.
To me, there's a lot of negativity back in the air. A lot of angry folk playing this game. Oh, yes. I think maybe the League of Legends players are a little bored in visiting our neck of the woods because there's a lot of toxicity in my games right now.
Well, yes, there is, and I don't think that's a bad top of the show discussion to have right now because a lot of people are experiencing it. There was a spike in viewership playability this week because some YouTubers came over and played our game.
Excuse me,
they apparently
VTuber. You got to call it what it is, Kyle. A VTuber.
Listen, I don't fully I understand it well enough, but I don't understand it. It's the first thing that really made me feel old in video gaming, and I'm sorry. But
you're basically a YouTuber, but you're not like showing yourself, man. Like you're kind of representing yourself with a virtual avatar.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that yourself? Or are you playing a character? You know,
I mean, you could. I mean, as far as I understand, and I'm old. I'm a boomer like you. You could be doing either. It's kind of the world is your VTube oyster. You do you. I mean, it's like there's plenty of creators, there's plenty of streamers, there's plenty of YouTubers out there that show their real face, but they're doing a character.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it goes the other way. It goes the other way. Like when I first heard about it, I was like, that's a little weird. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I used to represent myself as an online avatar for years, before I was doing the podcast game. And even then, when I first started podcasting, I wasn't showing my face until Twitch happened. So,
that's true.
Is it that weird? Is it that weird?
No,
I'm going to defend it.
You're bringing me back to, I remember our first stream. I remember wearing a hat for it. I remember positioning my camera in such a way that the hat blocked most of my face because I was terrified. So
I remember those. I mean, I didn't really want to do it either. I feel like I pushed you into it, but I feel like our community pushed us into it. They were like, no, we want to watch live and have a chat room that isn't an IRC client. And we're like, all right.
If we have to. But anyway, my confusion aside, it wasn't so much that it exists, because that makes perfect sense to me. It was more that the Reddit Heroes of the Storm community was so familiar with this VTuber that made me feel like I was on the outside all of a sudden, that I had been left behind, that I didn't know what was on the up and up now.
That's the part that surprised me and none of this is like meant to, I don't know. I feel like this is generalizing the audience of Heroes of the Storm more than I mean it to, but I have always kind of looked at Heroes of the Storm as a game with a skewing older audience. So that was the part of it that surprised me. Like, I've been through my own personal journey understanding what a VTuber is and making peace with it. But I was surprised to see so many folks in our community just being like, oh yeah, I love this person. Sweet. They're playing the game I love. I'm like, this is like my friends I used to go to hardcore shows with being really into mumble rap. Like that was the thing I had to get over.
I don't think it overlaps. I think Thrall can be for all ages. There's Dad Thrall that some of us go, oh geez, what a noble man with a child. Wrong. Oh, that touches me. But then there's just badass old in a canyon looking weird graphics Thrall that maybe speaks to you. And it's a game for everybody.
It's reminding me of the attracting effect of Heroes of the Storm, right? Because Blizzard as a whole, has continually attracted new players of all ages. Things like Hearthstone and Overwatch, the newer kind of tent poles of Blizzard Entertainment have brought in a younger crowd or just a new crowd in general, and that may be their entry, the gravity well they fall into before one day they end up looking at an isometric view of their favorite character from Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm.
True.
So, it's something, it's just fascinating, man. Because, I don't know. I feel like we try to keep an open mind. We try to keep our finger on the pulse. But sometimes, man, we still get blinders put on. And so it was cool. It was cool to see a different community take note.
Yeah.
However, we bring this all the way back to people are being mean in my games, Kyle. And it's kind of bumming me out.
Well, so that exact experience, the news of it anyway, is that we had a popular VTuber playing the game. And for about 3 hours, apparently, people were throwing matches like crazy to match up with the timing of this YouTuber getting in and out of their game so they could participate in it, or they could be on the enemy side. And so there was this outbreak of thrown games around the Gold League area. But also, there was a matchmaking change. The end of the season led directly into a new season, and things always get weird in there. And altogether, it is tough. And while I'm having a great time enjoying my Diablo again, I'm getting to play lots of Brightwing. Johanna, which, isn't that surprising, but hey, she's always there being useful. Games are being decided right now by the weakest player. And that's a tough pill to swallow. That's always a rough time in Heroes of the Storm for me.
Which to a certain degree, I feel like has been pretty true of the majority of this game.
Oh, MOBAs as well, like any MOBA. Bad player gets farmed, enemy gets rich, they kill you half an hour later. Like, goes the territory.
I think you missed the profit step somewhere in there.
Probably. Well, the other team profits, right? Yeah, and then they leave and you sell all their items. Like the same thing happens. It can feel more intense in Hero of the Storm because it is so team based and extreme in that way. And we're just going through one of those humps right now. So I would say to anybody who's feeling that, particularly at the end of the year, the end of this year, where you might need a win, you don't need to get it from Heroes of the Storm in that way. It's okay to.
That's something you and I talk about a lot. It's just like if we want to just relax for a second, talk to each other, play a game. It's just like, hey, can you take a loss right now? Are we trying to relax? Are we really truly trying to relax and be honest with yourself? Because if you can't handle a loss right now, a competitive game may just not be the ticket.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But also, personal growth and reflection and breaking through your own personal salt wall is important, especially if you're trying to climb in a game like Here's the Storm. So choose your own path, Kyle.
Take your battles.
Yep. So anyways, we're going to talk about Hogg's release because it has happened. Before we do that, we want to thank those of you who are supporting us. And if you'd like to support us, you can check out patreon.com/ITN. That is our opt-in subscription service. We promise we're never going to put the show behind a paywall. Frankly, it would just be terrible. But it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
it wouldn't work. I mean, Kyle, if I ran some numbers and I was like, oh damn, okay, we never mind. I would throw it to them, but no, not gonna do it. I was gonna be free. I was gonna be available to you. But if you like what we're doing and you want to support us, check out patreon.com/ITN. Get in our Discord. Get an ad-free version of the show. Sign up for our monthly game nights, which we're doing one tonight, dude. We're doing ARAM for the first time. That's gonna be fun. And all that and more over at patreon.com/ITN. And to our most recent patron, Ishti. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ishti. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But that's what I'm going with. And I'm also going with this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
Put me to the stage.
Stay a while and listen.
I don't think Hogger is interested at all in staying a while or listening to anyone.
No. In fact, I would say my number one problem with Hogger right now is let it ride. You could cancel Hog Wild early. But your brain kind of goes, but maybe I'll bounce into the enemy team and kill them all if I let this ride. Let's see where I end up. And it's usually far in the enemy back line.
Yeah, or in tower range. That's my favorite place for my Hogger, for the Hogger on my team to end up. That's I exclaim jubilation when the Hogger just flings itself into tower range.
Listen, they made it so the gate between the two towers bounces you back. So I have a choice, Garrett, to disengage in a straight line backwards, to do the smart thing, which be to disengage at backwards, but at an angle, so I bounce off a wall and get more coverage and go further. Or I could bounce off the enemy wall, take 4 tower shots, and end up where I started. And sometimes your brain says...
But you look cooler while doing that.
I might look cool doing it.
Yeah, you're missing the most important part, which is every cell of your brain that remembers that summer spent slamming Devil May Cry games going, but style points! You can't help it. You just, something in the back of your brain goes like, yeah, I could do the safe thing, or I could ricochet off. I could style on them by ricocheting off their tower.
Or let's see what happens exactly.
So, you know, you do you. But my takeaway, Kyle, after having spent my week in Quick Match, because I just really, really wanted to get the Hogger experience, is that there's a really obvious difference between a good Hogger and a learning Hogger.
Yes.
And considering the amount of Hogger mirror matches I've ended up in, it's on display in almost every game of Quick Match right now.
Well, it's multifaceted, because Hogger can, with proper angle selection, destroy Merc camps. Just obliterate a Knight's camp like nobody else can. Fast, safe, with plenty of health, all your health left on the other side based on your build. The Bruiser camp, or our Siege camp, not as impressive. Anyone can do that with pretty good speed and keep their health high.
I'm also trying to think of one where you could have a good straight back and forth angle and constantly hit them.
Well,
they're in the
you can do it because of your loot horde.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
all you got to do is find one good angle, and then set it up relatively quick. Maybe use your swing,
just
staggering blow. Q. That's right. Well, the casters cheat like that all the time. Maybe I can too. Your Q. Hitting with that Q. Oh, Q's on cooldown. But you knock them aside. You can set them up in a nice little pile, and then you can set up your loot horde so you can bounce off it. You bust through that camp in no time. You want to see? That's really impressive.
You want to hear the Hogg wildest thing I've seen?
Okay.
A Hogger do this week.
Give it to me.
I was in a game last night. Doribo in the chat room right now was in this game with me. Battlefield of Eternity. We all went and just defended our Immortal. The Hogger just soloed it with Hogg Wild. And it worked. It wasn't, I have seen faster Immortal burns, but I have definitely seen slower Immortal burns.
Sure.
So it did kind of work.
It can do a lot of damage if you have the rage for it. That can be quite the throughput. You can set up some pretty nice angles in the Infernal Shrines pit. You can... the maps aren't even is one of the funniest things, too. So, sometimes on Braxis, let's say, it is easier for you to do the left side camp rather than the right side camp of the same make, just because the walls don't attribute to that bouncing as easily.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's some unevenness there, but bushes onto Haka and all that sort of thing. This isn't a perfect system, and that's what we love about MOBAs is there's lots of wiggle room in between. All this fun and dandy around camps is important because that's what people are focusing on, I think, right now, because he is so good at it. And like our Malthaels, our Greymanes, if you do it faster than somebody else, you can join other parts of the map faster, be more effective and more impactful. And once you can get over that hurdle, you will be a decent Hogger of about 45% win rate.
That's that's kind of where he's ending up. I had my good buddy Daryl pull some stats from HOTS logs. It's going to take a little bit longer for these to show publicly, and also we filter by level 5+. So I had him hand pull out some stats last night of no level requirement. So I actually have some statistics here from HOTS logs that aren't public at the moment. And yeah, Hogger's debuting a little low, landing in about the 47% win rate mark in Quick Match, and just frankly just not that many Storm League games, but coming in closer to 40 in Storm League.
Oh, and there's a lot of bans too. I certainly don't blame bans on either side. Right now, I think bans are pretty darn up in the air unless you're in that Masters range, where right now I'm banning Chromies and Junkrats because they're just so much trouble. They're so busy, and you don't want to face that. But you might have a Hogger on your team who doesn't know how to play, or the enemy might have a good Hogger. So why not? Why take the chance? He is one of the more banned heroes. And on both HOTS logs and Heroes profile, third from the bottom. Genji and Medivh are the only heroes performing less than the Hogger.
I'm getting hot stats right now from HOTS logs, Kyle.
Okay.
Got another day's worth of stats here. sent in from Daryl, and his Storm League win rate hasn't won at all. It hasn't really budged at all, and it's more than doubled the amount of games that have been logged. So still sitting around that 40% win rate. Quick Match went up by 8%, 48%.
And that's my point. Once we get everybody doing a proper camp take with their loot hoard and all in tow, once we remove the difficulty of the hero, there's still a numbers issue here. And he is not as powerful as our other bruisers who are going to show up to a team fight with more exact kills, more surgical precision. His load ups are slow. His damage outside of Hogg Wild might be low. His survivability is very much dependent on his position, which does make him more difficult. But I think it's just a numbers game. And on release here, we saw some nerfs to him, which I think were perfectly balanced because they were issues.
Well, and he's also, before we get into that, he's also, I don't think he fills an obvious role in the draft. Because you think about low numbers games logged, take with grain of salt, but Quick Match significantly higher win rate than Storm League. A lot more kind of focus on selfish play in Quick Match just by the nature of being able to choose whatever the heck you want. And you're focusing on the mercenary aspect of Hogger. And I think we both kind of agree that the place where he falls apart for us is the just staying in that Hogg Wild in a team fight, where especially in scenarios where you would prefer the more beefy character to be in complete control of their body and placing it in the middle of the team fight where it belongs, and blocking and just being a part of that fight in a traditional sense that Hogg Wild doesn't allow for. So I think there's a lot of that too. Like, he's a weird hero at the end of the day. I don't think it's obvious. It's not obvious what he's supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to, wring value out of this kit.
I agree. Yeah, it's not. We talked about things like the rework Gazlo and Diva being disruption bruisers. They are going to help off tank by being really loud, annoying zoning areas. But they don't just disappear suddenly, unstoppably into the back line or go flying somewhere even more unknown.
Yeah. And the amount of times the last few days I've just gone, and there goes the Hogger. It's just a phrase that has been leaving my lips a lot.
Well, and when you look at win rates, it's often another thing that people bring up is he's hard. Okay, yeah, I agree, but I don't think that's what's keeping him down necessarily in just raw numbers. People aren't doing Merc camps right. No, I hear you. And it is fun to get those correct. But people may bring up that he has a build that is reaching around like a 65% win rate, but it's very, very low pick rate. And this is that auto attack build that you rarely get to do. That is very dangerous for Hogger in most cases. So clearly the Hoggers that are doing it in Storm Link, are chaining him, have discovered an area for that build. But the majority of Hoggers I'm finding are doing things with Easy Throw Dynamite. And in particular, the Hogger that I won with on my team in Storm League was making use of the dense blasting powder, which was pretty interesting. This is where you put down your Easy Throw Dynamite, gets an additional dynamite if it's instant, but you can use your staggering blow to make 3 sticks out of it and launch it in an arc. He was using this on Tomb of the Spire Queen for lane clear. So you throw it on the lane, knock it back, the whole lane knocks back in the same arc, matching, and all those go off, causing increased lane clear. And now that's the highest win rate talent at 39%. So even if we shore up through talents his lane clear, that may not be as rocking. And I'm talking like in this environment, higher league, where he can't afford to use the loot hoard or the Hogg Wild to lane clear, because those are your escapes. That's how you survive. You gotta find other tricks.
And loot hoard is also how you can massively contribute to a team fight.
Exactly.
And there's just a lot there. Yeah, which ties into my whole, I don't think there's an obvious way that he fits into a team composition, and a lot of the focus is now on what can you do by yourself? Where can you guarantee value on this hero? I think we have a lot to learn on how Hogger plugs into a coordinated environment. Even semi-coordinated, like a pickup game in Storm League. Like, you're not on comms, you don't know these people, but you're still drafting, you're still trying to make a cohesive plan with strangers.
Well, even then, like being on comms, there's like Johanna Greymane on comms, terrifying. There's ETC Alarak on comms, terrifying. There's lots of opportunities, but if I'm playing anything under the sun and my teammate goes, I'm going to Hogger, like, what information have you just told me about how you're going to execute anything? Where should I aim at the end of this combo you're about to unleash?
In my chat last night from Derivo's good friend Sierran was you're bringing a much harder to execute Urel. That's what you're communicating.
I do think that people are rightfully targeting the load ups. We also did this with Deathwing. You know, his wind ups are too slow. And eventually people got over it with Urel as well. I think you're right in that it cuts a lot of people out from being interested in the character. I think Hogger's just weird enough, like our Murkies, that people will be willing to dedicate to him just to be special.
Oh, you're gonna get your Hogger stands 100%.
Yeah, and I agree. First thing I do when I make a new WoW character is look up the statistics and see which class and race right now is the lowest, or is the most rare, because that'll make me feel special.
I do the opposite. I'm like, what's just gonna work? What has been proven to work so that when I take it out and if it doesn't perform, I know that it's me and no other variables. I like to cut out variables when I'm learning how to get good.
Yeah, that's a good way to treat things.
But that's me, and that's why you'll never see smug Hearthstone posts about how net deckers are the worst from me.
There comes a time when you must join what you hate.
You become the very thing you've sworn to destroy. Congratulations.
It's about being effective sometimes. Those balance changes that came out with Hogger are as follows. Hog Wild no longer deals damage to structures. Using that exact same strategy we talked about with the Merc Camp, you could set up a Loot Horde, go Hog Wild on it in a very small area, and deal massive damage. And while the Loot Horde didn't last very long, Hortapult does for 20 seconds. And surely no one would ever take a single heroic just to destroy one fort. Oh, no, that's not right. There's a thing called Gargantuan on Nazebo, and that's all they do. So I'm happy they removed this option, because that's what I would have done. That's what I would have run around doing. Avoiding team fights, not participating, and using my Hortapult to get sweet, sweet building kills.
It's fair. I mean, I understand the focus on Hog Wild. It's the most unique part of this kit. The built-in, the constant unstoppable, the endless unstoppable, if it's going, is so bananas. And the fact that you're outputting damage the entire time, as long as you're hitting things, obviously. But yeah, I get it. But it's also where a lot of my pain points fighting shoulder to shoulder alongside a Hogger comes from. But
next up, they targeted a level 13 talent, Dust Devil, reducing its armor. And this is rather interesting. So when you go into Hog Wild, you would gain 40, now 30 armor while active and for 3 seconds after. Increase this armor value to 60, now 50, if you have 50 or more rage. What the Hogger professionals were doing in this case is they were very, very controlled. They were paramounts of self-control, you could even say, because they weren't using Hog Wild for fun at all. They would use Hog Wild to go 2 feet, deactivate, and then sit with 60 armor on themselves.
Well, while that sounds very disciplined, it is armor or not. It's also a good reminder that this ability is pretty damn effective as an engage.
Yeah.
And that maybe you don't need to live in this ability forever.
You might want to exhibit some self-control and cancel it early, or let the tokens fall where they may. Leave it up to fate. See what happens. Go full Blade. Why not?
Listen, I'm certain we will end there. I don't think this is going to go on forever. I don't think every Hogger from here on out is just going to live in Hog Wild permanently and drive me insane. So I do think in a week or two, I'm going to look back on this launch week as very fondly. It's like in a year from now, we'll be like, hey, you remember that week where everyone was just a tornado and we were losing our minds? We'll look on it fondly. I like these types of wacky upsets. But
Totally. And the final change was to the level 20 talent No Control, which is where you bounce between heroes rather than terrain. And they took that duration from 6 seconds down to 5 seconds, which feels like more than enough. I have no data to back this up. And it could just be my own play style and too much Diablo noticing people together for APOX and whatnot. But I feel like if I were to play Hogger, if I were a Hogger main, I would be typing get to 20 the whole game in chat. Because No Control is awesome. It does not have as high of a win rate as some of the other level 20s, but we're dealing with very low game numbers right now. If we go to like maximum, we have 127 games played. And this is slightly below Secret Stash, which is probably being used more effectively. But No Control is awesome. And I absolutely understand why they had to nerf it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like you're bringing it up. I think you're doing a good job of teeing this up, which is explaining the reality and why it's likely these changes were made, even though so far it's looking like Hogger is releasing a little undertuned. But because of the nature of the hero, I just can't help but think there's just a lot of us just playing him wrong. Like I think a lot of this comes down to operator error.
There's going to be a buff in his future, though. And because so many talents are in the same range of each other, I do think that his quest talents are probably too hard. Those are probably the lowest win rate talents of all. But they're all right between 35% and 46% when we look at them as just individual picks, which I think speaks to his base kit being weak. But I think Hog Wild's perfect. The damage is great. When it connects correctly, when you bounce just right, it devastates. And that's what something like No Control at level 20 shows me. That is an untalented Hog Wild. It does not deal different damage than normal Hog Wild. But if you're sitting on max rage and you can get that thing out, that's all it's about. And maybe that's the problem. And that's something fan tweeted as well. And I think is becoming another popular thought outside of, oh, he's too clunky. Oh, he's too slow. People aren't good. The other thing is that rage decays too quickly. And he is extremely dependent on that rage in order to be even effective in Hog Wild.
I've been seeing that all over the place. And now that I know it originated with a fan tweet, that makes sense.
Yep.
Tends to ripple.
Yeah, but not wrongfully.
No.
Yeah, the facts from fan, I love them from fan. It's the fans that you have to be worried about. Because he's got damn skills. Like, if you want to learn a hero, I love watching the stream. It's one of my favorite things to put on when I'm too tired to play heroes, but I want to play heroes and I know myself. I watch fan. I'm like, wow, that was a cool Sammy move. Well, that's how you should play Imperious. He just keeps going.
So you're saying just taking in information and then parroting back to the world without understanding why that statement is truthful is possibly problematic?
Perhaps.
Almost
maybe.
like you shouldn't just blindly follow talent builds without understanding why you're taking those talents or how they synergize with each other or your kit.
You might want to make use of them or find your own path first so you can understand what actually happens in a game.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, I think he and everyone might be onto something with the rage decay.
It's taxing for him.
So we're about to. Do you think there's a chance we see a quicker than usual patch because we're about to hit the holidays and we typically hit a kind of a quiet point? Or do you think because everyone's working from home anyway, it may not be like a traditional holidays break in Heroes of the Storm?
Well, let's talk about that for a hot moment, because there was something missing other than the bugs and your various missing things. We'll talk about that in a moment, but a holiday event was missing. And as this was the patch that leads into the season, people are a little scared. But it's worth remembering that toys last year didn't start until December 16th. And in fact, that was our first balance update for Deathwing. So I expect we will see, if we go with the 16th, which was, in the past was not a Wednesday, but I expect we'll see a 2-week balance patch change for Hogger, which will be 1 week quicker than normal at the moment. And we're not going to go to 4 weeks on this. and that'll include whatever the winter event's going to be.
Good. I that's where I'm leaning as well. That's kind of where my head is at. And we're going to talk about some other noticeable lack of changes too, which also kind of makes me think about that. But first, Kyle, are you tired of Warcraft Heroes?
I guess. I mean, except for my list is mostly Warcraft Heroes.
My list is also mostly Warcraft Heroes as well.
But it's true.
I was still hoping for Mansk. I at least got a Prince version as a skin for Anduin, but Arcturus Mansk is still pretty high on my list. Actually, just I don't know, throw a dart at StarCraft characters, but the majority of my wish list has always been Warcraft characters. But that doesn't mean that there aren't folks hoping for non-Warcraft heroes to be added to Heroes of the Storm. And there was some talk about that going on, and D. Warner replied saying, quote, "We definitely hear and understand these concerns. Variety is only one factor that goes into deciding which heroes we're going to bring to the Nexus. It's a long and complicated affair that involves more than just the buy-in of the design team." However, D. Warner continued, "Without spoiling too much, though, we think that these players will be satisfied with our upcoming releases." So confirm, Kyle. Does somebody clip this out, put it on YouTube with a big, ridiculous thumbnail? It's like, no Warcraft heroes next in Heroes of the Storm. Confirmed. Like, there you go. Actually, that's probably bad. That's probably bad. You would say.
Yeah, you gotta go further.
You can't give the goose away. You gotta say, are there too many Warcraft heroes? And in the video, you drop the bomb. That there's
Warcraft forever? Heroes of Warcraft?
I think we just go with this changes everything.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
You go with that. You go with this changes everything. Or the
designers are out of their minds.
They did or they did not listen. That's another good. That's another good one to fall back
on. And 5 reasons they did.
They didn't listen. And then in tiny little text, and 5 reasons they did.
Oh my God, I hate it so much. Oh my goodness.
You gotta play the game, Kyle. You gotta play the game.
I gotta play the game.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
You know what? I should warn everybody. You got to play the game, and next year there's going to be some game playing. I apologize, everybody. I love my classy online persona, but you got to play the game.
You have to. You have to. Don't hit us for playing it. Hate Google for rewarding it.
Yeah, don't hate the player. Hate the hogger. Hate the first pick hogger.
Yeah, but that's cool. I like this is the type of communication and openness that I like seeing. Is the kind of teases that I love. It's like, we definitely hear and understand these concerns. This reads very PR. Variety is only one factor that, and this is legitimately interesting. I understand, I'm sure I believe this. I believe there are legitimately multiple factors that decide on what heroes are going to, and they've talked about it in the past. Sometimes, because how many times have we talked to devs and it's like, which came first, the kit or the hero? And it depends. It changes from hero to hero, what that answer is. But then I love at the end, it's just like, without spoiling too much though, bomb drop, mic drop, leaves room. It's great.
I feel like whenever they say, "Oh, you'll be happy," whenever there's a big kind of note on that, it's Diablo.
I agree too. I think that's where my brain goes.
Because if it was StarCraft, they would say, "We're about to make 5 player." No, just kidding.
I think 3 of you will be really excited.
We have represented the kit in the game you've played less, Blizzard fans. It's just the way of it. I love StarCraft so much, and it's such a huge part of who I am and how my gaming tastes evolved. But it is a more obscure game. Granted, it has been a while. We're looking at Phoenix as the most recent StarCraft hero.
Wow, it has been a while.
Yes.
Yeah, and chat, we're having fun. We love StarCraft. That's where we got our start.
Oh, totally.
And I never really thought about this, dude, but do you think there's any way they've seen crossover? They see they have Venn diagrams for this player would be considered within BattleNet a World of Warcraft player. That player would be considered a StarCraft player, and they see how many crossover from Heroes of the Storm. Because I would hazard a guess, because StarCraft players are so hardcore, they are so dedicated, and also that game of StarCraft requires so much dedication. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the smallest amount of crossover as far as Blizzard fans and crossing into Heroes of the Storm players.
Sure. Judging by the solo lane Valas, I think there's a lot of Diablo players too. I think that the isometric view lends itself to people who play these sort of games. Just like I don't play Fortnite, therefore when third person versus shooter comes out, I go, this looks clunky, kind of weird. Why would I invest myself?
Yeah, because I love Diablo. I haven't played it in a really long time because I was kind of hoping for another expansion and it didn't come. Nothing against the game, but like there was a long time where you and I were both enjoying the crap out of like Reaper of Souls while also playing Heroes of the Storm. And how many times did one of us get on the show and be like, yeah, I tried to move in Heroes like I do in Diablo, and I died because it's a lot more 1-to-1. It's, you know, yes, it doesn't look identical, but playing a barbarian from Diablo and then jumping in Heroes of the Storm and getting on Sonya, yeah, I have moved forward in Diablo bound to a key. I may try and do that instead of clicking to move, which I have done before.
I still expect Diablo.
Same. I do too. I would be stoked.
They got Imperious, they got Mephisto. Like the cards are stacked for StarCraft to just come in and steal it. I would love that. I mean, we've talked so much about in the past how much we love the neutral units, Hydralisks. Hogger has shown that, you know, catapults are no show, that you can't make a hero out of it. Like he's not competing with null camps.
Okay, but
it's
hold on.
Confusing.
I'm gonna pull the e-brake on you though, because I don't want a Cyclone hero. Are we gonna have a session where we brainstorm the only possibility of the next new hero is based off of the current suite of catapult models?
No, no, I'm not saying. Yeah, I was not going that we're going to get a Hellbat hero just because there are Hellbats on Braxis. I honestly do not think that there is so many animation lineups between those Knolls on Alterac Pass and Hogger that they just we're like, well, this will be cheap and easy. Let's just cut, copy, paste, and bam, Hogger's done.
Yeah. Well, so who's still at the top of the Diablo list? Belial's the big one, right?
I think Belial has just a lot of fans. He was such a shock in Diablo 3. Certainly my favorite boss to battle in the harder difficulties, just because it was so much fun and outrageousness. But Druid is sitting right there for the longest time. People are really, really into that character. I think it brings a lot of different kits and could be a very, very cool representation of the whole class. Like, we don't have to go full any of those directions, much like we don't with Greymane, who, you know, has transformation, but still has Ganaeus Cocktail. Like, we can still do a lot of those Druid abilities you know and love without completely missing out on somebody's particular build. That's
fair. The chat room's mentioning Ball. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of villains. There are classes. There's, of course, Diablo 4 on the horizon. And I don't think that has a huge impact. You know, we've never really lined up perfectly. Even in this most recent interview, they said, well, you did Shadowlands. Like, were you all thinking World of Warcraft? I'm like, nah, that's just how it lined up. We didn't plan this.
Yeah. And then StarCraft, like, they've hit the major ones.
Sure. I mean, the game released with the major ones because all the team was in the StarCraft headspace. There's not anybody who's really hanging out in need of being in the game. And we got Stukov, who before StarCraft 2 and Heart of the Swarm and all that, it definitely felt like a very minor character to me. Alarak stole the show. Haka may have stolen the show for some folks too. But I would just love to see that Hydralisk hero or anything that is just bringing it back to those basic units.
Yeah. But like, we just got Hogger, who is basically a mob, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many Knolls have you freaking killed in World of Warcraft? But yeah, who knows? Who knows, man? Like, when I think of StarCraft, I think of Overmind, and then I'm like, they've really metered expectations to ever get a core replacement hero. So I don't think we're going to get Overmind, which means I don't think we're ever going to get Yogg. And if we even start talking about core replacement heroes, my brain goes, they'd probably do Yogg. They'd probably do an old god, I think, before they would do Overmind.
Well, and why not follow something you're already passionate about. We've heard that so many times. And I think that is the joy of video game making. I am so pleased to hear when the team says, well, we were all into it, so we did it. Like, yeah, I've had to do work I don't like too, and then I've done work I love. There's a passion.
It makes a lot of sense to me, man. I know we kicked off the episode kind of talking about people being grumpy in games, but like overall, like I'm really happy, and it's just a relieving place. It's relieving to be in the Heroes of the Storm community right now, because I also cover Hearthstone, and we're all a little miffed over there right now. And there's some bugs with this patch in Heroes of the Storm right now. Certain mounts are bugged out right now. You can't equip them. A ton have been reported. These are reported by players. haven't personally confirmed these, so there may be some errors here. But like most of the cloud mounts, for example, you're happy, you're angry, you're sad. Cloud mounts are currently not equipable. Some sort of bug going on. And like I went to the forum post to see what's currently bugged, and it's just people like letting the devs know what the problem is. They're not yelling at them. They're not insulting their character. Like they're just, hey, this is weird. Anyone else experiencing this? Like it's like what I like to see, and it's just, it.
If anything, it might be helping my win rate, honestly.
Wait, why? Why do you? Do you track your win rate on mounts, and are you like, oh man, I got to stop riding the sad cloud mount? I have a 5% lower win rate on games where I'm riding the sad cloud mount than when I'm on the happy cloud mount.
No, not at all. In fact, that'd be rather funny if morale mattered that much. No, I've been Primeval Diablo since 2.0 because the skin is so alien. I love it so much. But it's bugged. I cannot equip my Primeval Diablo skin. So I had to be big boy masters, green purple Diablo. And he's really big. If you haven't noticed, Diablo's pretty damn big when you're in the classic skin set.
I would much rather fight against the classic Diablo model because if I have skill shots, it's a much more realistic representation of what the hitbox looks like.
Right, but I wasn't on my own, which was the weirdest part. Like Bright Wings always teleported to me. Maybe anecdotal, but I felt like I was more supported, more followed up when I was big boy Diablo this week.
That's interesting. See, I would think I would want to go... I would be naturally more drawn to go support and save a thinner, frailer looking character.
That's because you care so much. And you have Chihuahua, so you're used to like caring for small little frail things. But maybe I'm playing with a bunch of Newfoundland owners and they're all like, yeah, Diablo, and smacking them around.
I mean, my female Chihuahua, I should have named her Diablo. She is the thickest, fittest Chihuahua I've ever seen. But
that'd be pretty cute.
But yeah, but then there's Bailey, and he's a little shrimp. So I get it.
Some of these reports include Leorc's Phantom mount, the Charger mounts, some murky skins. It goes on. You're going to find a lot of these. They are aware of it. They're going to fix it. But this is where, combined with the lack of the winter event showing up in the patch that leads into the season that would have the winter event, where you may have seen some drama and people concerned that resources are dry at Blizzard. Which I say, wait till the 16th. Like, I guess we'd be looking at the 15th, but hold out for a little bit. Even if it's the same board, the same event, I don't think we're just eventless for the time being.
Yeah, I don't. It's. I mean, the talk pops up every once in a while, but again, I come back to we were very worried when the HGC X came down, and here we are, multiple years later, and the HOTS has continued to have a really strong tail following that event. So there's a lot of concern when they really reduced the size of the team, and I think I've still been really pleased with the rate of updates coming to the game. So that's just kind of where my head's at on that.
I agree. Speaking of updates.
Yeah, surprise Storm League update. When queued as a party, this is live now. Storm League now looks for matches based solely on the highest player's MMR. And if I know I just got done talking about how the Heroes of the Storm communities is a refreshing place to be because overall they've been so damn positive. This did raise a few eyebrows.
Right. It's the age-old problem between Smurfs and legit friends. Not that your friendships, may not be legitimate, but the idea that you're plat, you got some silvers, but you always play together. This gold range is where you've just found a happy place for your team. You're not being nefarious. You do not play by yourself, maybe. And so when you get together with your friends, that's where you find the most even games for yourself. Now, I do find that when I'm with friends, the losses hurt more. They're harder to eject from my brain. And I want to give my friends every edge. So when I party as a 5-stack with my buddies, we don't pick a tank in quick match. So that doesn't give us an enemy tank. So that there's Bruiser. And maybe I'm Imperious because he tanks best of the Bruisers, thereby giving my friends the best chance to win.
That was, I feel like I just watched you show The Matrix, man. That was like some 4D chess that just happened just then.
I want them, when they visit Heroes as rarely as they do, to feel like they had a great time, and winning feels great. And there are those that might abuse the system and like those lesser matches, and they're forgetting that when they're with those friends, with their plat carries versus the golds, they are having a better time than they should be. Their win rate is higher than it should be. So with this change, we would now be marking all those silvers, all those golds as plats. And that's dangerous. That is disheartening if I was in that situation. I would not want all my friends to be marked as diamond. That'd be terrible. What about if I do 3 friends and that one other person, they're diamond, but I'm bringing in all the weakest links? That's a bad thing for me to do. And at this point, Garrett, as much as we've lamented its existence, said that the game might be better without it, I'm not going where people think I am. Maybe I am. I'm thankful for unranked all of a sudden.
What?
But why not? Other than, of course, the Warhead Junctions and stuff like that. There is a place called unranked now, which I hope becomes filled out because this rule is enacted.
If we're... I'm surprised by that reaction from you very specifically.
Okay.
Because you want Solo League back. Or Solo Q. You want Solo Q Storm League back. Like strictly Solo Q. You want Hero League back.
It's a little bit of a New Wars kind of situation, so don't throw me in the camp here.
I understand. I understand that there's nuance to your thoughts there. We've talked about them in the past. I'm trying to expedite this conversation, and I'm not trying to be flippant. But as someone who has been on record multiple times as saying you miss Hero League, you would like to go back or have the option to have a Solo Queue only MMR or way to play. I'm surprised that you're happy that more people are now flocking to Unranked, because it's like if that is working and it's bringing you joy, why don't we just split the leagues again? Like, is that working as intended? I don't know. I'm like, you're not a developer. I'm not a developer. Who knows? We're not talking to a dev right now. But at what point is this so problematic, or such an odd outcome where it's like, oh well, we just filled out unranked. It's like, well, why don't we just have 2 ranked leagues again?
You're not wrong.
One for playing with your friends and one for not.
And it's a, as you said, multi-layered discussion that we have had in the past, but I do feel the need to defend myself a little bit in that, as someone who enjoys the solo queue experience, they would call it a clown fiesta. Are you insane? Fiestas are fun. Clowns are scary, but sure. Like, I love that execution. When somebody stuns and Greymane jumps in, that's a skill on Greymane that is developed and analyzed and thinking in this game, wow, ETC is really good at stuns. Greymane will now follow ETC around. That's a tactical decision. When ETC and Greymane are in a party together and they do that every time, that's not tactics. That's well, taking advantage of every advantage you have. So good on you, but it sucks to see when you're solo queuing.
Yeah.
It is worth saying that there is some confusion about this right now. And even our chat is getting a little confused on this too. So we did reach out for some clarification. Daybringer got on the Reddit and said that Actually, let's read the whole quote if you could.
Oh, sure. Daybringer said, I understand that. I understand the initial frustrations with this when playing with legit parties. Getting the actual friends versus Smurf issue here. The good thing is we do have a knob that we can tune to any MMR range we want. We are still discussing where we want to end with that knob, but we are looking to start around Diamond 1 and above. After we spend some time making sure that it is doing exactly what we want, we can continue discussing where this threshold should eventually end up. And so there's two things I think that need to be clarified here, and we did get them clarified. One is like, what the heck does this even mean? Like, where does it end? What ends? And so my understanding is this currently isn't in the game, is part one. Part one, this is not how it currently works. Right now, if you say I'm Plat and you're Diamond, we group up together, it's just going to pretend we're all Diamond. We're all Diamond
Correct.
Now, Kyle. And we're going to go up against the team of 5 Diamond players, even though I'm hanging out there as the lone Plat.
As though you had my MMR, correct?
Exactly. It's just going to take your MMR and say, this is what we're working with. Go. Whereas the way it used to work is it used to try and reconcile our 2 MMRs smooshing together and find another team out there or assemble another team out there that ends up in the same general average of MMRs and make us pit us against each other so it has a what's the word I'm looking for? Words.
Fighting chance?
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. An equal playing field. Now that's out the window. Now if I group with you, you're higher than me. It's going off your MMR, not mine. That's it. That's how it works. There's no league where that starts being true or stops being true. It's just always true. They have a knob that can adjust this. They just haven't, but they're thinking about it. That's what Daybringer's saying here, is they are now thinking about making it so that this only applies to Diamond 1 and above, is my understanding. And then it wouldn't apply if you were Diamond 2 or lower. Am I understanding that correctly?
No. That is where this double negative gets confusing, and that's why I reached out for clarification.
Okay, thank you for doing this.
This is working everywhere right now. The discussion is happening at making it only Diamond 1 and above. So if a Diamond player or a...
What I thought I said.
Over? Yes.
Maybe
right now,
I didn't say
everywhere.
it right. This is a little confusing.
Okay. It was a confusing statement. That's why we had to get some clarification. So right now, this is everywhere. This is in the whole game.
Yes. There's no league where it changes. It doesn't change. Yes. It's the same everywhere. You're bronze, you group with gold, you got a gold MMR. You plat, you group with diamond, you got a diamond MMR, so on and so forth. There's no point where it's treated any differently right now.
But we are discussing where we want that to end with that knob, and we are looking to start it at Diamond 1 and above. So if you are Masters, you can only play with diamonds, is a previous rule. So at Diamond 1, this rule would no longer exist because the queue times would be so extreme if a Diamond 1 grouped up with a Masters and it was putting them all in Masters because it still needs diamonds to fill out that game, is my understanding. So they're thinking of disengaging this rule once you get to high diamond because smurfing doesn't matter
so
there
yeah,
anymore.
I had it backwards. So it would apply to bronze through Diamond 2, and then you tip over into Diamond 1 and you group with the Masters. It's not going to go off the Masters MMR. It's going to do what it used to do and try and reconcile the Master player's MMR and the Diamond 1 player's MMR and try and find an equal game.
Correct. So if you are Grandmaster number 2 and you're partying with Masters 200, there is a skill gap there of an extreme measure, sometimes equal to multiple leagues. We're talking like gold to diamond levels of points in between those two. But the matchmaking simply would destroy itself if it marked all their friends, in this case, one friend above Masters, because of previous rules on the matchmaking system as Grandmaster.
And there's also there's been an issue to overcome forever, which is there's just not that many GMs in the first place.
Right. Well, there's 200 of them exactly. So, or 100. I'm not sure.
I think it's 200.
I can click a button to find out.
I bet you could. Chat room will be faster.
This is
100
confusing. It's a confusing situation. It's also made all the more confusing right now because people are placing. So there are people queuing up right now who are seeing their silver friend with their platinum self going up against only golds. But there's placers in there, and they might be the plats who are filling in those games, and the system is working. We don't know. We're going to have to get some time and clarification on this.
Correct.
What is for sure is that it is dangerous to queue with people who are of the league that they are for real reasons. And you may want to reconsider right now. And that's where people are upset. Smurfers be damned. Like, if you go make a gold account and you play with your diamond buddy, you're both diamond anyway, or maybe even higher. Like, now you have a more even game. That's healthy. And you two should have less fun smurfing, smashing each other. Therefore, there'll be less smurfs. On the flip side, if I was so determined to play ranked with my friends, and I understand that sometimes you're winning a game and your brain goes, this could have been ranked. I could have gotten points for this. That'd be really fun. I would like the rewards. I'd like to be completing quests while I do this too. That'd be really fun. This would encourage me to go make a smurf to play with my friends. But I think that system still works because my friends, silver and gold, with my smurf that ends up maybe in gold, we're all going to have the same win rate. And we will all end up eventually maybe high gold, maybe low plat. My smurf will be held back by my friends in the first place. That's not really a smurf anymore. That's just how I play with my friends. The level that we can execute on.
It almost becomes you're basically teeing up, is this ethical? Like, what is a legit friendship, Kyle? What even is friendship in Heroes of the Storm?
We can answer that question. A friendship is worth the Wintervale bundle, which costs you 70% off right now. So it's 1,500 gems. Oh no, that's only 3 heroes.
I haven't looked at the Wintervale bundle. Okay.
These are mostly skins. Oh man, it's going to cost me a lot actually. Buying that many heroes looks like it's going to cost me about 4,000 gems maybe.
It's not horrible.
Which is about $40. This is quick math. But friendship is worth about $40 if you wanted to play together today.
Wasn't my question, but that's not terrible. It's fine. It's fine. $40. I know. Again, hi everyone. I've been looking at expense math in Hearthstone a lot lately. $40? Why not? That's a steal.
No big deal. $40. Are you crazy? They asked me for $40 every damn season in Hearthstone. What heroes is a steal.
Yeah. Plus, I don't spend a lot of money in Heroes that much anymore. I kind of have everything I want and need. So
yeah, that's the other problem too, of course.
I agree. I agree with that example you just teed up, man. Like if this makes you go and make a Smurf to play with your friends, and you end up regularly playing with your friends and eventually nestling in at a rank that makes sense for your amalgamation of skill, it kind of still works. It's just more convoluted.
Right. And at that point, are we reaching a time where, and we've said this for a long time, that we would love to have our own set MMRs, because I love placing. Placing is a great activity. I think it'd be really fun to place with you, place with my other friends, do a 2-stack, and just have that set MMR that's shared between the two of us.
Isn't that the way it used to? It's been so long since I played 2v2, 3v3, 4v4 StarCraft 2, but wasn't that how it worked?
That is how it worked.
Yeah, we had, when you and I played together, our 2v2, like, it became a team. It had its own unique MMR. Where it went, one of these players is really good and the other is Garrett. That's what the system said. So, it's goes with the territory, right? I don't know. It's been a challenge for a really long time.
Yes. The thing that I think they're recognizing and why they're talking about this knob in the first place is that in the end, Smurfs don't matter when you get to the high leagues, because then it's not a Smurf anymore. But there is stacking issues, which are still being taken account of by older rules. And that's where I really want to hear from the team right now. This statement could use some clarification.
What do you mean by stacking?
Nice. Like the masters can only be in duos. You can't stack more than people than that. But if diamonds get involved, What are those rules at this point? We have 3 years of matchmaking rules that I need condensed in a single blog post, so I understand what is going on.
That's fair. Yeah, can we get like an update? Like these are the rules of the Storm League Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of extraneous bits.
A little bullet list action going on.
I love a good bullet list.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're still not done. We're still not done with hearing from the devs because there were some folks that were concerned about no Gazlo changes in this week's patch. Hogg came. We also saw the other minor changes that we mentioned last week when we did our PTR patch preview, but nothing happened to Gazlo. And that raised some eyebrows, raised some questions, and AZ Jackson replied to them in kind. I'm not going to read the post in full. If you want to see it, go check it out. But I really like this reply and also some kind of, again, more of an explanation and kind of peeling the curtain back on what it's like to work on Heroes of the Storm. So AZ Jackson said on the topic of no Gazlo nerfs that, quote, traditionally we don't do large balance patches alongside new hero releases. Due to how the patch timings line up, it's just not easy to pair these things together. Went on to say, in regards to Gazlo, since his last round of nerfs at high level, he's sitting at a 52.3% win rate in Storm League. Then he said if we look at Quick Match, his win rate goes up to 55.7%, but continues saying, in that case, we have other anomalies, like Uther in Quick Match being at 57.1% and Asmodan being at 56.8%. Kyle, do you know why I'm so excited about this?
I can take a guess.
Go right ahead.
You like stats?
I do like stats. And on last week's episode, in regards to another piece of blue replies, I said, hey, if you're going to mention internal stats, could you just tell us what they are specifically? And here we are, getting told specifically what internal stats are. So I have no idea if we had a damn thing to do with that, Kyle. But I'm really happy to see them here.
Numbers are nice.
Numbers are nice. I dig them. So, yeah. It seems like Gazlo's in a healthy spot as far as Storm League win rate is concerned.
Yeah. Even then, I like the cautious touch. They go on to say, too, that they don't normally, release this sort of stuff along Heroes. So, this is the Hogger patch, and they were fixing some extraneous, I think, CCL-related things. Not so much concerned with Gazlo here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's... It's interesting. I wonder what the range was. If that's just since the most recent patch, or like now I just have more nerdy questions about like. So when you say that statistic, what's how many games? What date from what date to what date?
I would assume since the last patch.
I would assume so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thought for sure, but yeah, I mean. I'm super biased in this regard, so I don't know. Where do you stick? Because I don't think Gazlo needs to be nerfed. But do you think he needs additional tweaks?
I think he's still absorbing a lot of bans. He is the most banned hero in the game, sitting at an 82% popularity and participation rate in Storm League in general. But he came from nothing, and I'd like to see him keep his winnings at the moment. I think the bruiser meta is healthiest when it's full, when it's not limited, when we're not asking people to play things they don't want to. And in fact, that's why I'm really hopeful that the next hero is an auto attacker, because I think that could use a little optioneering, a little exploration, a ranged DPS auto attacker.
So who from Diablo or StarCraft would be a ranged DPS auto attacker?
A hunter killer would be my preferred choice, but I know that's rather, limited in some of its ideas.
Sure doesn't sound like a druid from Diablo.
No, it doesn't sound like a druid from Diablo. I think druids are great, and I love playing Diablo 2 to play my druid. I play a very particular rabies druid, and I don't think I would get that with Greymane in the world.
Rabies druid? That's okay. That's fair.
I like biting guy, and then they all just turn green, and it makes that that sound, when things get poisoned. I don't know why that's the poison noise, but that's the poison noise in Diablo 2. And the whole reason I still play Diablo 2 is to play one thing, the Werewolf Druid.
Fair. Thank you for explaining it, because I didn't really spend much time with Diablo 2 growing up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, rad. Well, that's that was good, dude. That had to be like one of the longest news segments. That wasn't just us busting through a balance patch in a long time. But there's been a lot of chatter from the devs this week, and I like it. So
Absolutely,
please keep it up, y'all. But now we're gonna bring it home with some questions from our Discord and from our inbox. So let's get to it.
Darkness stopped calling.
Does anyone else hear that buzzing?
Hold on. Darkness just texted me.
You know, I want to know what Darkness texted him. All these years we've had that bumper, man. What is it? I don't know.
just sitting out there.
How do you, can you read it? Is it too dark to read?
Listen, they're making up new characters to be the end bosses in World of Warcraft, man. I think we're past it. These old questions are just left out there in the open.
I mean, that almost sounded like a shot at WoW, so I'm just going to say this new expansion is amazing, and you're missing out.
I'm not missing out. I've told you my plan.
No, I will. I am casting a seed of FOMO and throwing it in your direction.
I will miss out on the thing. In fact, I'll skip all the bad waiting periods because I'm going to play at the end this time. That's the mistake I've made all these years. Playing in the front, getting burned out when not everything's released.
Your mistake was not understanding how WoW works and just giving yourself over to it.
You water cooler, man. You like watching your shows.
It's fun, man. It's fun to be a part of. It's fun to
at the time
figure it out with everyone else. It's fun to be wrong about theories. It's fun to be wrong about builds. It's fun to be wrong about gear and learn and grow. It's about the journey as much as the destination.
We got emails.
ITNcast@gmail.com. You can send your emails there. If you're supporting us on Patreon, you can drop us a message right there in the patron Discord. Wake writes in this week and says, what would you think about trying out a Vision Ward item along the lines of Medallion? We've had that in the game. We've had that in the game and still do to a smaller extent, but for the most part, it's been slowly patched out, which I think is a bit of a shame. I'd like to think a ward anomaly would have a less polarizing effect on the meta than the Medallion and less of a skill ceiling, while also really changing up what you can do at higher levels of play. I get that the HOTS jungle is a lot different than in Dota and LoL, but I think bringing in a little bit of those games' vision could be a cool thing. I don't disagree. Vision is still important. You and I, one of our favorite things to dump on, Kyle. All right, you are a paragon. You're a paragon of patience and positivity. Okay, I'm less so, but I try. I fail a lot, but I try. However, you and I, if we want to be stinky little nerds, which we are from time to time, we love dumping on people who go, what do you call missing? Because we're just like, you must be from any other MOBA where we give a shit about that. Here is Heroes of the Storm. We move too fast. Our lanes are too close together and we don't care about your problems. Figure it out. We laugh. And
what, you think they didn't mount? They got there faster than normal. It's your fault.
Exactly. I forgot the mount. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dude, that's our favorite thing to dump on. Like I think we're both guilty of that. We don't really talk about it on this show, but I'm outing us right now. We make fun of people constantly in our own personal games together. When people are like missing, we had although today that tracer, the tracer was a jerk. So they
there's a tier list of dumping. The where's my team is much lower than the why didn't you call missing? Because that's your job as a soaker in solo lane, because you could have done nothing. Like, that's what makes it so extreme. In a team fight, I understand the objective's ticking. There's an urgency. But when you can sit behind your wall and have XP delivered to you, now with the XP anomaly, you could pick up the XP later. You could even be further back, not even in range of it.
All you had to do was be patient.
All you had to do was nothing, and you would have survived.
Yep. Anyway.
And that's why we deserve to call you out here. So
all that said, vision is still very important.
Yes.
Why?
And there's...
How many times did I have to hear you say the word anchor while you were learning to tank for your team over the last 3 months?
Yeah, that's true. Warding, anchoring. It's all very important. And there's a lot of things that aren't very intuitive which I think could make the game more apparent. Where my brain immediately goes, of course, is tanking, because that's where I play. And the anomaly of the medallion punished those people who take it upon themselves to be constantly bullied in a losing game. Supports are reactionary for the most part. There's your Virulent Stukovs who can land some sweet stuff and really set up. Anduin Roots have destroyed me plenty of times. Supports matter. But the tanks are the ones in this game that get called out first. And the medallion made so many of their choices wrong. So we are recovering now. In fact, I feel like there should be a campaign from Blizzard that's like, come on back, tanks. We love you. We need you. People need you again. Please come play our game. We got rid of the thing you hated. Hate is a strong word. Excuse me. There are a lot of things that tanks do that aren't apparent. Like Johanna blinding a bush that's got nobody in it. But there could have been. And that sight that provided, a great example is Ana. Have you ever seen a top end Ana walking around just healing nothing at all? She's like, oh, gonna heal that bush. Oh, gonna heal that objective. And you're like, what are you, what's going on? It gives a flash of sight through that area that the heal spell went through. And she needs to know to make sure that she doesn't die. So when Diablo puts out a flame stomp, it doesn't hit anybody. That was the point. It was the point to check that whole range and see if there's somebody you could charge, because you can often interact on Diablo outside your vision range. And same goes for Johanna, and then following it up with a shield. ETC is hard to play for a lot of reasons, absolutely mismarked and absolutely drafted as this easy tank to play, but he has no sight abilities. He is always walking around blind, and I need that Ana to help me out. So a vision ward anomaly could bolster a big play in tanks without over punishing them in the traditional sense, of course. Now, bush parties and everything else like that, and 5 wards across the whole team, that would be Sight City, and there would be a lot of not playing, I think is ultimately where we get to.
You think it would just cause too much inaction?
I think so. I think there'd be too many objectives that everyone would, you walk up to an objective, let's say it's 5 minutes, but all the same, let's assume every objective, and just wong, 10 wards go up, 5 for each side. And everyone just sits in the stands wondering if they should get up to anything.
I don't know how you would design it, but I think you would have to find a way to design it where only X amount of players and maybe only one player per team even got one in the first place. Maybe they spawn in the altar at the very beginning of the game and you actually have to pick it up and then that player has it. And maybe the unique key that can relinquish it to someone else. I don't know. But yeah, that to me strikes me as the most obvious challenge, is that everyone having a ward, that's a little much. That's too much sight. Like, I don't think there's a tiny enough sight radius to make that wouldn't make 10 wards possible out on the map all at once. Too much sight.
I think there is a class homogenization that could happen. Like certain groups get wards. I don't think it would be awful if, granted, Medivh's already a ward in the air, but if we gave all supports wards, maybe that's weird. Maybe that's too limited. What if all healers had gladiators medallions? Is that a healthier world for them? Now that they can choose between cleanses and taking care of themselves, maybe take both without having to double stack those. Should melee assassins get the wards? Because they're the ones in the most positioning vulnerability. I really appreciate the original design of Raynor and Malfurion because they had the scouting drone, because they are so immobile. That was a huge part of his kit to me. Now I have to spend a penetrating round to check that bush. In my league, I can instead complain to my Twitch chat, I needed Ana or Diablo to be checking those bushes for me. I can't afford to lose my penetrating round. But goes the territory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting bit. And God, there's so much we haven't talked. We should probably make a note here, Kyle, so don't forget about it. We should do an anomaly post-mortem for one of our year-end episodes if we have a quiet week. But yeah, we haven't talked about the possibility of, does Gladiator Medallion show back up at some point as a talent across a few key heroes, as opposed to an ability every single player in the game has. and that you made me think of that because of this discussion, and also the discussion of the challenge of how giving awards to everyone would be.
And I think we've made some very cool choices there. Malfuri and Raynor aside, who I'd love to see regain those sort of abilities, something like Oracle on Tassadar is fascinating because it has a very particular job. Cooldown 45 seconds. Passive on it is gain 30 spell armor for 0.75 seconds and restore 12 health if you're stationary. So if you are Tassadar, you're probably going to be stationary quite a bit. You're realizing you're suffering the things like Orphea, who can come out of nowhere, kill you very quickly. On the other side of that, you only have spell armor, so they gave an activatable channel where you can reveal an area for 4 seconds. So it shores up both the gank ability, maybe the sustained damage you would otherwise be taking, while still only giving you the spell armor you would need while standing still in those environments. That is cool. That is such a surgical look at this kind of tools Tassadar would need versus those different comps.
Well, and you're starting to get, I think you're starting to paint a decent picture of the challenge of character-wide anomalies. So, like, so much of Heroes of the Storm is about these talents and these kits that are unique to each and every hero, of certain heroes having access to some abilities and other heroes not. And that's why something like the medallion is so strange and kind of goes against the grain in that way.
Well, and look at something like Inevitable End on Malthael, who is a level 13 talent, gain unstoppable for 2 seconds. That pick rate has gone up since Medallion. Since Medallion became a thing because people realized the power of being unstoppable on Malthael. They were willing to trade out of their old builds. So there's two sides of this. Would a ward anomaly increase the way tanks, Anas, and such cast their spells and make them more aware and more knowledgeable about the advantages of sight? But then we can backtrack that and say, who did you teach? 1 season's worth of players? Did they learn that lesson? And then we get into player education, but it is a thing. You know, it would be universally useful if all Johannas knew that they could use their blind, particularly if they're fighting nothing but mages, use their blind freely to check bushes.
Well, your concern of not a long enough tail on that lesson, those folks should subscribe to maybe a Heroes of the Storm podcast so that they can be reminded of that lesson.
They might be interested in such a show.
Tell your friends. Yeah. It's an interesting thought, Wake, and pretty high on my list of things I'd like to see them mess with.
Yeah.
But again, don't give it to every hero on the team. That's too much. Way too much sight.
And I absolutely appreciate how cautious they've been about making an environment where people don't want to play, or when the right choice is to not participate. We just joked, by the way, about, XP orbs and letting them be delivered to you. And yes, that's not playing the game. It is different when you just feel completely locked out, useless in the part of the game that is most important, or most fun, I should say. Those objectives and those team fights.
Yeah. So, anyways, to wrap this up, Valkymer wrote in and asks, back to Magic Wand territory. Get your Magic Wand out, Kyle. You're about to be able to make any change you want to the game.
Perfect.
Do you ever look at a talent tier and wish 2 talents were merged? My example is that of Varian at level 20. If Demoralizing Shout held the cooldown reduction of Vigilance, I think I could justify it over Glory of the Alliance much of the time. And this is an interesting question, I find, because I think Valkymer has alerted me to the fact that I don't really pay a lot of attention to talents I never take. Because I find this to be a difficult question to answer.
That's fair. I do think an important part about not being tilted by video games is cutting off your imagination at a certain point. Because if you're constantly saying, oh, well, why couldn't I have teleport across the map as a talent? What was the point of that conversation? Like, I remember when Alarak first came out, and I want to find the name of the talent here, but Alarak first came out and I read Last Laugh, Activate to teleport to a chosen location and remove all root slows and damage over time effects. If Alarak fails to hit an enemy hero 3 times with basic abilities within 4 seconds of using Last Laugh, his health is reduced to 1. This makes it sound like it's infinite range. That it is the coolest, craziest, teleporty global Alarak you've ever seen. But it's what, maybe half a screen? And I went, oh. Yeah. But this is a perfectly fine talent, and I've seen it used effectively plenty of times. And the win rate on it is fine. It just didn't do what I want. So in order to not be tilted by playing Alarak, you just cut off your imagination. So I agree with you that this is a hard question. But there are those talents that I just do not care much about. There's talents I want to see baked in. Like the main one I like to talk about is Mal'Ganis, Might of Sargeras, that 50 armor that I have to spec to in order to get.
Yeah.
I would love that just to be baseline. But it begs the question, why are new talents so hard to make? And I don't want that to be belittling. And that's not a limitation on the developers' imaginations either. I think they probably have tons of cool talents they could make. But we enter a space where X is balanced against X, and you can't just throw Y in there for no reason. So that's where my brain gets stuck. Not only because I don't want to tilt myself when I think about a talent being bad and I wish it was better, but I also understand you have to add another talent in there to get to the 3 that we all like to see. And sometimes you get wisp level out of that on Lunara. And it's the lamest thing on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're kind of describing a bacon, which happens. It's just not always this. I almost said linear. Now I want to say it's not always this horizontal. Like, because when you look at talent lists, they're next to each other. But, yeah, it is. There's certain conceits, right? I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world if we had more 2 talent tiers, but they try not to, right? So
yeah, we have a couple 4s in particularly the 20s.
Yeah. So it's like
plenty of 4s up there. It's
not that rigid, so it could be done. But there's just not a lot of things that come to mind. Zagara does come to mind.
Sure.
Because some of her talents that you just never pick, they're kind of cool. Like Jagged Barbs at 16. That's the you get more basic attack damage when you're on creep, and you also get extended attack range. No one takes this. This is so underpicked, it's insane. But give it to one of them, the Hydralisk talents at 16. Or find another talent somewhere along the way to go. But I don't think it's necessarily a good example because Corrosive Saliva does fight with Mutalisk a decent amount. So that's not the best example in the world because those are competitive talents. I guess actually, Corrosive Saliva has overtaken Mutalisk by quite a bit. But both of them still see a decent amount of play. So putting Jagged Barbs on either of those isn't really changing things much for me.
Yeah. For me, it's Probius. But that's also kind of his design. He's got a lot of base power in his kit. He doesn't necessarily need talents to be good. So you get to 13 where you pick your version of your pylon's power giving shields or spell power or auto attack damage. And that is like, okay, yeah, I might analyze my team a little bit. But then I get to 16 where I see Quantum Entanglement, which causes a slow after explosion, Gravity Well, which causes a slow closer to the center, and Interference, which causes a spell power reduction if exploded while inside. I just go, I guess I'll do the easy one. I'm going to do Quantum Entanglement here. But I wish this was way more exciting.
Yeah. But it's an interesting thought, Valkymer, and I think I'm going to start thinking about it a little bit more when I look at pick rates and underpick talents and whatnot. I'll try and keep it in mind next balance patch we get.
And here's a opportunity. What about, Pyromaniac? which is a solid talent, gives Kael'thas a lot of campability all of a sudden, deal periodic damage, basic ability cooldowns are reduced. What if we took Backdraft and Vision and put those two together? What else cool could you put on that talent tier?
So Fission is increased explosion radius on Living Bomb, and Backdraft is the explosion slows enemy movement by 30%. I mean, I guess it's those are the ones I guess that seem like they make more sense. Are those levels where they're all for the same ability, right? Because otherwise, it's like, what am I combining here? Am I combining two things that have nothing to do with one another? Which is fine. There's talents like that. I mean, look at some of. Because of what I play, some of Sonya's talents are strange, man. You ever look at Battle Rage? Battle Rage is a weird talent. Like you take it to get a heal. You get 10% of your maximum health back, but it has this passive where you deal 25% more damage to mercenary. It's like, why? Why is that on? I love it. I absolutely love taking this talent, but why is that on there? That to me reads like something that was like, well, we had the heal and we had the 25% damage mercenary talent, and they kind of seem not that great by themselves, so we just smooshed them together, even though they seem unrelated.
So maybe that's what we're making here. We're making bad talents if we do this at the same time, too.
Don't call Battle Rage a bad talent. I love Battle Rage.
I think my main problem with Battle Rage is that I go, ooh, Mercenary Lord Sonya, nice. Oh.
I go, ooh, 10% heal that I control, because no one ever heals the damn Sonya. That's what I go. I like
That's
it.
fair. Well, Battle
Rage
people don't heal Rainer either.
Battle Rage is my most taken level 7 talent. I think Life Funnel people have blinders on.
We just expect you to keep spinning. It's not that hard. Just keep spinning, bro. We see you out there. You're going to spin anyway. You might as well do it right. Honestly, that is my opinion, though, as a tank.
I love when you come at me, man. That's great.
I see the Sonya's engaged. I'm like, perfect, whatever. Enjoy yourself. I hope you clean up when we all die, but like...
Sonya really does kind of have that Hulk energy, right? Like, watch any Avengers movie. They have a plan. They're synchronizing. They're working well together. And Hulk just jumps off to go do some random bullshit.
Yeah. Why not just match some planes together or something? They're fine.
Yeah, you just hear, ah! You're just like, oh, there she goes.
Good. Yeah, I didn't expect you to make it to the team fight, but I'm glad you're here.
Yep.
It's that friend that never responds to text, but they show up for D&D, and you're just like, all right, happy to have you.
They're really busy, but they never flake.
Yeah.
They're bad at the day-to-day keep in touch, but they're always there for the events.
Yes, their friendship maintenance needs work. But when you finally get together, it's like nothing bad ever happened.
They're there when it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good friends, those.
We're describing our friendship right now. Well, thank you for the emails. Thank you for the questions, everybody. Keep them coming. itncast@gmail.com. Patrons, keep those questions coming into the question channel in our patron Discord. We're going to bring it to the end of the show.
Send us big heady questions, too, because next week we're going to be chilling with Cavalier Guest.
Yeah. Get weird? Is that?
Yeah, deep questions. Of course, he's a coach for the CCL right now, so of course ask about some of the high tier play that's happening over there, coordinated what you can get away with.
Ooh, next week that's gonna be good because this is our first medallionless week.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of weird stock is raised up. Like just this last week, I did an interview with Lauber, who is basically a falling sword main, and now across the Nexus, falling sword is becoming the number one pick. So with Laws of Hope, no less, too. Like, the things that people tilted on you in the past are no longer reasons to get tilted.
So what you're saying is I just need to convince CCL players to take talents that I would rather take.
Listen, I message them weekly about playing Mal'Ganis, and they still lose games on it, so it hasn't happened yet. It's not a guarantee.
That's because they're picking Mal'Ganis.
It's because they picked Mal'Ganis.
That's why they're losing, yeah. Sorry.
Exactly.
Who do I talk to about Battle Rage getting taken by Sonya's?
I don't know the Sonya main off the top of my head.
Anyways, folks, keep writing in, and send us questions in for Cavalier Guest. He'll be on the show next week. Speaking of our badass patrons, thank you for the support, everybody. And if you want to become a badass patron, head on over to patreon.com/ITN and support the podcast. Everything helps. Like, not everyone needs to be a producer. We appreciate it, but it all adds up, and it really does help. So thank you for the support, everybody. And speaking of our producers, thank you very much to Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, Mike C, and Sean B. We really appreciate the support. You can catch us live Thursdays, usually around 3 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/amovetv. And we will be live tonight, twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, for our game nights. Aw, yeah, doing ARAM with the patrons. I'm going to be on some stuff I don't know how to play, and I can't wait.
You got 3 choices. Sometimes it's not all stuff you know.
I'm trying to think of the worst possible. It would be like Lost Vikings, Medivh, Hanzo. Yeah, dude.
Me on Hanzo. Yeah.
Last time I was on ARAM, I took Hanzo and realized I might be the worst Heroes of the Storm player in the world when I'm on Hanzo.
You know, this idea that you can aim while also moving doesn't work out very well.
I hate it. I do not like how he controls.
Just go watch a Grandmaster stream of Hanzo, and you'll be left with so much desire to learn that hero, play one game, and just be like, nope. You know what? That could be that. I'm that way with Junkrat. I do feel like if I dedicated a year, I could be a really good Junkrat because I like all the setup and the traps and stuff.
Dude, you're describing at the beginning of quarantine. I started sim racing. Like I actually got a wheel and everything. There's cars in certain sim racing games that are like that. Where it's just like, I know this track like the back of my hand. I know exactly how to take this corner and this turn and do it perfectly in this car. Gran Turismo, which is my personal driving game of choice. You put me in the Lamborghini, and I might as well be in a go-kart on ice. Like, I just can't. It doesn't make any sense. The physics are all wrong. I don't get it. It's wild.
We all had quarantine plans, Garrett.
That's Hanzo for me, man. That's Hanzo. I don't.
So I'm very proud of. I've kept with a lot of the things I dedicated myself to, but some things go by the wayside.
Yeah. Anyways, Kyle, besides Into the Nexus, where can everyone find you?
You can find me a number of places. You should check out the DM Gives Inspiration show over at kyleferguson.com or wherever podcasts can be found. If you'd like to learn how to be a 5th edition dungeon master, you should check out that interview I mentioned with Lauber over at youtube.com/heroeshearth. And you should follow me across the web. Twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. Twitter.com/Kyle Fergusson. It's all just my name because it was
Kyle Fergusson.
Weird of me.
Fergusson with 2 S's, by the way.
That's who I am.
Not one of these 1S Fergusons like that Fergusson I used to work with, and I always spelled his name wrong because of you.
Or a tractor company in Germany, apparently.
Massey Fergusson?
I have no idea. I
mean, Massey Fergusson is a tractor. I don't know. I don't think it's German, is it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of the things I hear.
Massey Fergusson tractor's German?
I have no idea.
Anyone know? My dad has one. It's really old. It's like covered in rust. It still works though. But anyway, doesn't matter. Folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, where you can find me not talking about tractors because I don't know a damn thing about them despite growing up around one. Move.tv for this podcast and every other one that I produce. I would recommend listening to either The Angry Chicken or WoW Killer. A lot going on in Hearthstone. A lot going on in World of Warcraft. One is really positive. The other, we're trying to keep positive. So check it out. Wherever podcasts are found. Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We'll be back next week with episode 351 of Into the Nexus and Cavalier Guest. So until then, good luck, have fun, and we'll see you tonight for ARAM.
Take care.